All right. So Ron, can you tell us a bit about why you chose this topic? Because this is all your fault.
Well, it's in the very first year, we talked about collecting old beige Macintoshes. The year after that, I twisted Steve's arm. We talked about PowerBooks. So now
Then we
that
did
I am,
clones.
yes, then we did clones. And now that we are out of ideas, PowerPC Macintosh computers.
So thank you all for joining what will no doubt be one of the talks you looked at and listened to this year. So
Why
we
don't you do
appreciate
it?
it.
Why don't you do it? Yeah, it's one of the many things you'll be
Many
seeing this weekend.
All right, so
Steve-
you
yeah.
hopefully know who we are.
Yeah, no, I have no idea who you are. This is the very first time I've met you.
Well, I am Ron. No, Steve. I'm Steve from Mac84. You could find out information about me on Mac84.net or my YouTube thingamajig. You just search for Mac84. The other guy is not me, but the one that looks like me is me. So that's the key thing to remember.
The guy on the bottom that looks like he just found his puppy at Disneyland. That's me. That's Ron from Ron's Computer Videos. Comedian, Dreamweaver, visionary plus actor.
I thought you moved away from Dreamweaver to front page.
Yeah, it's actually at this point it's the hot dog HTML editor. So, but
My goodness. All right, so we're gonna cover a few things today. What's the deal with PowerPC Macs? We're gonna talk about them for a bit. Some cool upgrades that are available for these systems or for your older systems. Some things you want to keep in mind if you're going to collect some of these or use some of these things. There's some great things out there, but there's some stuff you should be aware of. And then we always do our favorite systems, and we'll get heckled from the audience depending on what we pick, I'm sure.
yeah.
And there'll be a time for Q&A and maybe mild arguing, depending on how the tone goes. But yeah. Hopefully that's good. Now there's a big QR code here, or if you go to the website here, you will find a copy of this deck. So you don't have to frantically write down any ingenious things that we've written down here. Obviously,
That QR code is also good for 50% off on Steve's website. And it may require an email to Steve to go ahead and push that through, but
I'll
it'll
just
do
forward it to you. That's
yeah,
fine.
just forward me all the communique. So, but PowerPC, basically, what the heck is it? It's as Apple sort of looked at the fact of the aging 68K architecture, they were like, we got to do something else. And so starting kind of in the mid 90s, it was a joint venture between Apple and IBM and Motorola to build a RISC-based Macintosh. I remember the first time I heard that this was happening, I was so mad that I was going to have to rebuy all my pirated software. You have no idea. So, but lots of changes during this period. Eventually, it did lead to some really nice, fast machines and some more hardware homogenization. You didn't so much have, after we got past the kind of the new bus era on those machines, things did get a lot better.
Yeah. And what's interesting about this is because these machines were supported for such a long time, you have that entire spread from System 7 all the way through the later versions of Mac OS 10 that support these machines. So it's really crazy how you could push some of these to run an operating system or something where they would not have dreamed of doing that previously. So there's a lot of fun stuff you could explore, BOS, Linux, and all this fun stuff. But what's nice also is some of these upgrade cards that are, would not have been available on like a new bus system. Now you have a SATA card or, these graphics cards that you could flash to work on a PowerPC system. So it does open up the architecture a little bit
Yeah.
to allow you to use a bit more of these accessories than you might have not had access to on the previous generation of systems and FireWire, USB, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, you have to keep in mind that like new bus is basically Apple's version of the 16-bit ISA bus, because they can't do anything. They got to do their own thing. And so if you could just imagine trying to run some of these video interfaces, stuff like that, back like still through like a 16-bit
yeah.
ISA bus, you'd be super sad, regardless of what next-gen processor was in that machine.
Why aren't my photos downloading at a very quick rate? Oh, it's going through the serial port.
Right. But kind of as things got on, everything started with the PowerPC 601 processor. Later, there were lower power versions that were made for laptops and stuff. The PowerPC 603, there's 603E that addressed some like thermal throttling issues.
And some cache issues and
yeah,
things.
caching and things. But largely, 601, 603, 604, and then we move into some of the ones that got retermed because or kind of marketed
Yeah.
a little bit differently.
Yeah, so like Apple would badge them as, oh, this is the third generation, this is the G3, and then obviously after that there was the G4 and the G5, and that's where they stopped naming them because they stopped using them in their systems. But what's cool is, it's sort of, you could get down a rabbit hole, be like, oh, well, if it's 604 versus 604E, and you could go on the spec websites and compare this and that and all the other things. But really, I mean, the software that's able to run on a lot of these chipsets, more or less, work across the board, depending on, some of the features of that system you're trying to run it on. So, if you're trying to do like Mac OS 8, it's like, oh yeah, that'll work on the majority of these, unless it's like a G3, you might need like 8.1 or whatever. There's some limitations, but
And
it's
unlike
pretty flexible.
Unlike Amiga and other platforms and stuff like that, there were ROM limitations on machines that kind of locked you in at certain OS levels as well. So if your idea was, I cannot wait to run System 7 on my G5, this is going to be a frustrating afternoon.
I mean, just have like 5 levels of emulation, you'll be fine.
Yeah, it's probably fine. But as our friend here is telling us, probably about some kind of insurance policy that you've allowed to lapse, just about the complexities of the Windows 95 PC and sort of how everything is stacked on top of all manner of like legacy systems and things like that, and how the PowerPC and the long-term plan for the platform was a better integration of all of these things, at least according to the people at Apple that paid me to say this.
Now, what a fun tip here, if you go and look up the Mac versus Windows 1994 video on YouTube, this gentleman is presenting, and then if you look at the 1996 version, he's presenting again. So even though his wit is extremely non-existent and his charm is in the negative, they decide to hire him again. So
it was Sunday night. He was the only person that answered the phone.
I already have the suit. Might as well.
That's right, yeah. So, but absolutely, the future was here on the PowerPC platform. There were all manner of great new peripherals. This was the era when Apple was absolutely throwing everything at the wall to see what would stick. You've got Mac-like things like the Power CD. You've got the Quick Cam. You've got kind of more and more storage media. That was kind of the beginning of the explosion when you could buy a laptop with a bigger than a 20 megabyte hard drive.
Fast, SCSI, come on.
Yes.
And so what's interesting with this slide is we're going to go to the next one and see how many things change. So as we go from the classic era of PowerPCs, and then all of a sudden, we're in Mac OS 10 land. But if you focus, Power CD becomes iPod. SCSI becomes FireWire. And so there are similarities which are interesting to note because things were changing so quickly, and that chip supported so many computers that it was only like a natural evolution of what was to come.
Plus, it was nice because Apple did go ahead and put all my pirated software on a single CDR, so I could just very quickly get all that stuff reinstalled. It's
the easiest way to do it.
It is the easiest way.
So what was neat about, we saw that insurance salesman talking about like what Mac versus PC and the similarities and how the Mac is better and all this stuff. But really like the multimedia aspect is something Apple really leaned into, with the 68K systems as well. But with PowerPC, it was like, oh my gosh, you have all this performance and this and that. And it was just really one of the things that you would see everywhere. Like this Experience Multimedia badge was on the back of like every Performa box.
Yeah, and I don't blame them because I actually worked in retail kind of at the time when the PowerPC came to market. Montgomery Ward, stop by, bring money. The machines and stuff that we originally were kind of shipped from Apple were like the 6100. They were like those early NuBus machines. And it was a big difference because you could show people a QuickTime movie. You could show them some of these rich media things that didn't look like a postage stamp. It was more like a 3x5 card.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, the GeoPort modem, our favorite accessory, was this software upgradable modem that you could attach to the back of your GeoPort port, which is, why wouldn't you do that? And just like the whole idea of being able to video conference and all this stuff, just really, like it was there for the 68K stuff, but it was really powerful and like actually attainable. You wouldn't have had to buy like an add-on card just to do something.
Yeah,
you know, like you used
it's
to.
amazing. You can it was a Win modem, but for a Macintosh. So, but no, it's you finally had enough oomph under the hood where you could do some fun things that kind of got you more parity with what was kind of happening in the PC world
Oh,
at the
sure,
time.
yeah. And because the switch to PCI from Nubus, you had access to all those add-ons and everything, which was great.
Yep.
So yeah, just here's some just fun ads and things like that. So I love this Motorola ad. There's Motorola ad on the right, which is like their Power Stack advertisement. And they were just if you look in the old magazines, you'll see this exact ad, but you'll see the image changes. So that's like, oh, here's all of them. Oh, here's the Mac one. Oh, here's just Windows NT.
Plus, this is that really cool time that John Scully was on Family Feud.
Sure, Ron.
It didn't make it to syndication. You just had to be there. So.
So this is just like showing you, obviously, some of the cool marketing and evolution of things. But so many things happened from Apple between '94 and about 2004 that it's just a huge shift. You know, we went from the classic Mac OS to Mac OS 10. You know, the death of Mac OS 9, support for newer hardware, dual processors, quad processors, and all this fun stuff.
And it's definitely about trying to change public perception because a lot of people, they used Macs at school. A lot of what people had familiarity with were still those old black and white 68K toasters and stuff. So that way that it was like, and this is kind of the area of extreme marketing. And so you've got the Intel bunny person, you know, they've obviously passed gas in their suit. You're having to make a direct connection between, you know, it's like, okay, our chips are as better than Intel's offering. So you had to make that case.
Yeah, and some if you go back and watch some of those early keynotes where they're introducing the G3 chip and all that fun stuff, it's actually cool to actually watch some like, oh wow, it's actually doing Photoshop X amount faster. So sometimes on the first try, it was slower. So they rebooted the machines, then it's faster. Yeah. Steve Jobs did not look happy. But
yeah, hold on, I gotta unload like you know whatever like the Grouch. I can't run the Grouch.
Let me remove some extensions before we try this again. Yeah. And just again, continuing that evolution into a lot of the later PowerPC systems like the G4 and the G5. But it didn't leave your 68K machine completely out of the dust because we were ready for upgrades.
Yes, we were absolutely ready for upgrades. And there were third-party vendors that were absolutely chomping at the bit to take your money. That's for sure. I remember Apple and Daystar were like two of the first people out of the gate to have upgrades for older 68K Macs. And they, with a straight face, asked people that owned the 20 megahertz Centrus 610, a 20 megahertz machine, to buy a clock doubled PowerPC upgrade, a 40 megahertz PowerPC chip, just complete straight face to ask you for that money. But at least
It's like $900 or something ridiculous.
Yeah, it was a ridiculous amount of money, but it did let you run all three PowerPC native apps at the time.
Yeah.
which was really great. And I think one of them was just the Daystar demo that showed you like shade mapping on a sphere.
You'll never use this, but look how cool it is.
Yeah. And they did leave you the option to like turn the upgrade off and on through a software control panel. That's one thing I always liked about Apple. It's because they realized that you had made a financial mistake and you might need to come back from that.
Yes,
it's like, who's going to come to my house that's going to know that I spent $1,600 on this? Better turn it off.
Better turn
that off.
You need your system to boot up a little bit faster.
That's right.
But so like some of these machines that came out during this transition was something that Apple was thinking about, like the PowerBook 500 series and some of the machines that Ron was talking about. They had a slot or a PowerPC upgrade slot or a cache slot or something where they were able to plug in the processor to upgrade it. However, as we'll get into in a bit, there's some pros and cons with this because you wouldn't just get the full performance boost. Your memory would still be slower. Your system bus would still be slower. That hard drive ain't spinning any faster. So, I mean, it's great, and they're fun things to look back on and explore. But today, if you're looking for a PowerPC Mac, just get a PowerPC Mac. There's at least 5 on the free pile as we speak.
Yeah, so. It's one of those things. I know people do spend a lot of money on the upgrades on those machines.
Oh, and they are cool.
And they still do. And they have a little bit of kind of nostalgic value in the community, especially it's whatever the German word is, for nostalgia for something you never experienced. I'm sure it's very long and guttural, but there's a lot of people that want to pick those things up just specifically because they want to see what it was like. It's terrible. I just saved you money.
Yeah, they could be a bit rough, and they go. I mean, they're sought after, so they could go for hundreds of dollars. Then you get one and it doesn't work, or it doesn't work as expected. So you just want to be careful. So yeah, there's some pros and cons with these. They're fun to play with. It can make a Power Mac 6100 not feel so crappy. So that's a plus. Some of them do support Mac OS 10, but you sort of have to shoehorn it in there, and some of them are really not happy about that. But it's something that if you fall into, you get one, yeah, have fun with it. But don't think this is going to solve all of my problems.
No, it'll create a lot of new problems. Actually, no, this is an amazing thing to consider if you're just like, you know what, I hate weekends and love frustration. I will. No, I don't, Siri. Thank you. Get your own upgrades.
She wanted to help you with some
I know. She was like, it's like calling Accelerate right now.
Daystar on speed dial.
Right, exactly.
But just to keep in mind, there are so many of these cards. It actually is very confusing because the naming of them was very similar. So you'll have ones from Sonnet, you'll have ones from Newer Technology or whatever, and you have to really look up the specific model number. Some of them just differ by a letter or a number, and some of them will be compatible with one system or won't be. Maybe the voltage regulator on the side of the card won't work on this one, but it'll work on this one, or it'll physically fit into the slot, but that pass-through connector is physically going to be blocked off by something in your system. So just something to be aware of. You don't want to be late night on eBay searching for something. Oh, I finally got it. And then, weeks later it arrives, shove it in your system. It's like, don't go.
Yeah. And if you've got an older machine too, you have to keep in mind that the health of your base machine and the power supply and things like that can really really influence how well these upgrades are going to work.
Wait, you're saying the 6100 I dragged out of the free pile that had a little bit of patina and rust on it.
Yeah.
I shouldn't spend $300 and put a G4 upgrade card in it?
I mean, you can, but do you like sleeping outside?
Well, it's nice this time of year.
Yeah, I guess it would have to be. It's like, honey, you'll never guess what I spent the rent on.
Sonnet, Newer Technology, those were some of the popular companies that made upgrade cards, but not all of them. Obviously Accelerate was under Newer Technology, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So there were a few others, but some of the really sought after ones are the G4 era where they had dual processor cards and all this stuff. Some of our crazy friends like to shove those into G4 cubes and just watch the acrylic melt.
Right. It's definitely, wasn't this an inch taller 10 minutes ago? It's like, nah, it's fine. It's probably fine.
It's probably fine.
Yeah.
One of my favorite experiences was our pal Sean of Action Retro shoving a G3 card into one of his power computing machines at VCF East a few years ago. And it was such a process of, yes, it technically works, but if the power went off, which it did because someone stepped on the power strip, it was such a process to just get it booted into a different OS, to boot into another OS, to boot in a certain way so it would actually boot in this haunted, cursed configuration that it should never be in. And it was just this hilarious thing that the system had to be upside down. It was just ridiculous. So it remained off for most of the show. But it's just one of those things where, yeah, you could do it, but, just set your expectations.
Absolutely.
And yeah, no heater in the winter.
No heater in the winter. And then also, you can actually, there's tons of upgrades and other components and things like that. Not just if you've got those native PowerPC machines, you're looking to fix some things that might be broken. You're looking to kind of make some common sense upgrades. Don't forget about solid state hard drives. I don't know about your collection of quantum hard drives. But my collection of quantum hard drives is very sad.
Wait, I left mine in a leaky basement. Are they going to be okay, Ron?
I don't know. Well, the leak is that they're just melting from the inside out, but sure.
Okay. I was worried about my foundation.
Yeah, well,
Oof.
yeah. The sort of the solid state stuff, so like Blue SCSI, Pico IDE, those things, or Pico IDE is kind of coming down the pipe a little bit, but there are nice ways that you can actually emulate CDs and hard drive images, and you can use emulators to kind of get those things set and then just get right to the fun part of stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like installing the operating system the hard way through target disk mode in a CDR that I burned 40 years ago. So,
Yeah.
back when they were on laser discs.
Right. Yeah. I have a friend who got back into the hobby and stuff and actually bought a 7275, which is kind of one of those Rode Apple machines, and was like, I'm doing it all from floppies. And I was like, when you're ready to turn the machine back over to me, let me know. I was like, there's a million other better ways to do this, but some people want that real experience.
Which is fine. Just understand what you're getting yourself into.
Absolutely.
And there is some PCI SATA cards that you could flash to work in a Mac, which is great. And some of those will work on like a 9600 or some of those,
Yeah.
beige machines still. But it's great to just have options because those quantum hard drives are not getting any younger or less noisy.
Yeah, you can go out on Tinker Different. You can find kind of recommendations for what upgrades people want to do. Don't forget those posted RAM limits. A lot of that is just based on the fact of they were like,
What
this
was
costs
released
as
at
much
the
as a
time,
car.
Yeah.
So, maybe we can have this to where it's okay, it'll do 128 megs of RAM now that that's on the e-waste pile. But power splice, things like that, you can replace them with modern replacements. Steve was talking about reflashing cards. That also extends to graphics cards.
Yeah.
Some work, some don't work. Again, you can look at a forum like Tinker Different. You can get some advice on what works best.
Yeah, and some of those are a bit trial and error. They're for PC manufacturers, there were so many graphics cards by Gigabyte, MSI, and whatever, that your mileage may vary because the physical size of the ROM chip that you're flashing may differ. So some people have even removed the ROM chip or flipped them, or some have dip switches. So don't just assume, oh yeah, I could get any ATI or NVIDIA or whatever the heck brand series of card this is and just swap it in there, because there are some caveats to that. But thankfully, there's so many people who have done that before that they have a guide or a video or something you could follow. So if that's something you want to do, if you really want to get like 100 frames per second on Unreal Tournament 2004 on your quad-core G5 and, make a space heater for the winter, that's great. You could do that. But
Steve's got a really good YouTube channel. I don't know if you're aware of this. That has videos on how to do upgrades and things like that on all manner of different machines. Maybe we can convince him to one day go through and archive your collection of PC graphics cards that you've flashed over. Because I've been on the other end of listening to your frustration on doing some of those things. I think it'd make really great content.
It only took like 18 different tries and versions of the flashing software that the version number goes up, but features were removed and card support was removed. So that was so much fun to dig into in 2018 that I completely forgot about until you mentioned it now. So thank you for bringing that up.
I do it on my channel, but my channel is mostly fart jokes.
Oh boy.
All right, Steve's going to reboot. So something else to point out is that there are people that are working to preserve not just like the electronics part of this, but plastic pieces, things like that. Market Mac Effects has a line of replacement bezels for G3 iMacs. I know those are super popular machines, especially with younger people, because that's what you saw in your computer lab. That's what maybe you also had at home. And now they are quite fragile. So it's nice to have options. Or if you've ever picked up a 6100 and then put it down
and sliced your finger.
Yeah, and had the feet just explode into 1,000 tiny shards. It's nice to have that stuff. Nice to have options.
Way better than duct tape.
Yeah, it's true.
All right, so repairs. There are always repairs. So if you're like this gentleman in the top corner of the screen who's just like, the capacitors are leaking, we'll just clean that off. That's not going to solve the problem.
I could just like run a little alcohol over the board and call it a day, right?
Alcohol? I was going to use tap water.
Oh, that's probably fine.
So the standard rules apply for any of the old Macs. I mean, these PowerPC Macs are getting up there in age as well. So weird things could happen. They booted last week, it booted last year, and things just need attention. So you just want to be very careful. Obviously, remove the batteries if you still have them in there. Don't store them with the batteries. If you need to use a battery for your system, there are some great coin cell options. Ron created one that's for sale on Joe's store. And
I did create one. I don't know that it's necessarily great, but it does exist.
It
does exist in the physical world.
It does exist.
But no, Steve is right. It's batteries are probably the biggest killer on these machines. If you've ever gone out, you made a Facebook Marketplace purchase, and you very quickly realize that the inside of the machine looks like I don't know, like Satan directly vomited into it. You'll very much be sad on that ride home, and you'll wish that they would have removed the batteries. So if you get something that's good, and you're done using it for a bit, kind of winterize it, pull the battery out and all of that, replace it if needed. Remember that a lot of these machines were of the era where it has to have a battery to actually properly power on and give you video. So that's a big thing. A lot of people are like, "Oh no, this machine is broke. It doesn't work." And it's just that little nugget of information.
Yeah, especially like the PowerPC clones and the CUDA chips and the buttons and everything like that. Sometimes there's just a certain order for that particular system where you have to push the button, you have to do this, you have to do that if it doesn't have a battery. So just much easier if you just have one of those coin cell adapters. Either you solder in with the leads like your solution, or they have those that just slot into the half AA battery holder that works. So. But one thing to be aware of is power supplies, especially on the Power Mac G4s and G5s. The G4 ones were notorious for just like going. I picked up probably about 3 or 4 in the past 5 or 10 years that will power on if you leave it plugged in for a few hours. But then you push the power button one day and it's like, oh yeah, I'm not going to work anymore.
Yeah, it's you had your chance.
Yeah, you had your chance. And the power supplies were in a very interesting shape. They were very long to fit into the side. But there are some smaller power supplies that you could get for projects that you can slide into there. So adapters can be made. You can get fancy with it. There's a lot of documentation, a lot of like what works and what people have figured out. But sometimes you will lose connectivity, like the ADC Apple Display connection that has a lot of voltage in it to drive the external displays. So sometimes you may lose that if you are going to go that route.
So yeah, and if you have a hard drive, absolutely back that up. It's
my SideQuest, right?
Yes, it's never been easier, and there's a lot of devices online or that are out in the retail space today that let you just pull your drive if it's still healthy enough to do so, and then directly connect it to something like a Blue SCSI. You can use initiator mode and then just very quickly back that stuff up.
Yeah, or if you have a Power Mac with an IDE drive connected to a network attached storage or something else, and you could just copy that over. Even USB drives, you could use a flash drive or an external hard drive. It'll write slower, but at least there's some of that connectivity there, which is great with these PowerPC machines because some of them are great bridge machines, like the Beige G3. They'll have IDE, SCSI. You can put a USB card in there and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
But I think what's important to note is a lot of folks will get a machine and they're like, all right, I want to put the latest and greatest operating system on this sucker. Yeah. And then you watch your Mac take like 3 minutes to boot up. And you're like, why did I do this to myself?
Yeah. Why can't I run OS 9 on this 6100? Yeah. I don't even think that's really possible.
Oh, I've done it before.
Oh, you have?
It's not happy, but it'll work.
Yeah.
You just need like more than 64 megs of RAM for it to actually
that's like correctly. The home of the 20-minute boot.
That quantum is like, oh boy.
Yeah, it's like I don't know what I did, but I'm sorry.
The G4s, there was a period of time where after a certain machine model, they did support drive partitions of, I think, 120 gigs or greater. So there is that to be aware of, that if you have like a 1 terabyte drive or an SSD that you put in there, you might have to partition it in a certain way. The manuals of these systems actually say that. So as it goes for anything, if it's new to you, read the manual. There's actually some helpful information in there.
It's very true. And something else to keep in mind is there are still some OS limitations on these machines in terms of, yes, I got like the biggest, great whiz-bang machine, but I decided to put System 761 on it or something, which might support a partition larger than 4 gigabytes, but you will run into OS limitations on the file system. So you'll have like, why is this 1K text file 800 megabytes? Yeah. And it's just because of cluster sizes and things. So it's always good to kind of read and get the kind of recommended knowledge on some of that stuff too before you spend hours loading up a machine only to realize that you copied half of the stuff from your old machine to it and have completely filled the drive.
Oops. Try again.
Not saying that's from experience.
Some quick things to note here. There are some, this was around the time where, Apple was switching over to IDE for a lot of their Power Macs and stuff. And some of them included SCSI cards, but not all of them are bootable. So just like do your research, take a picture of the card, look online, because you don't want to be disappointed of like, oh, I have a blue SCSI and I put it in here, but I can access the drive once it's booted up from IDE, but I can't, if it's just booted with the SCSI card. And some of the G4s, especially like the later PowerBooks, require later versions of Tiger or Leopard or whatever they were releasing at that time, which were often not exactly in sync with the retail releases. So you will need some of those restore disks. They are on archive.org in the usual places, because sometimes you can get stuck of like, it will actually like try and do the install. And when it asks for the second disk or whatever, it just errors out. And you're like, Well, that doesn't help me. It's just because that was like one, 2 or 3 releases right before. They supported the graphics modes on that computer or whatever.
Or sometimes you'll have the, isn't there an issue with installing Tiger or something like that where it can't hit the time server or something, so it'll fail during the install?
Yeah, some of the I think it's like the Leopard and Snow Leopard and beyond. There's a lot of like certificates and stuff like that. So, I mean, I haven't experienced it too much with PowerPC, but like when you get into those later operating systems, it is something to be aware of. That it's not just installing from a CD. Sometimes if you're doing a app install like an update in the early Intel days, it's one of those things to be aware of.
Something else that you can really do is if you go out to the Googles and you type in the name of the machine, Apple specs. Typically, one of the first links is going to take you out to the Apple info page for whatever that machine is, and you should be able to then go, oh, I can very quickly see that it runs these versions of the operating system.
Yep.
And sometimes there is such a narrow delineation on that where it'll run macOS 9, but it won't run 9.1, but it'll run 9.2, but it won't run 9.3. And so you can save yourself a lot of frustration if you just check some of those things too.
Yeah, a lot of the beige towers, like the 9600, 8600, they'll have that cutoff of like 904 or whatever. So if you put a 9.1 CD and it's like, oh, it can't boot, is it the CD?
Yeah, don't always
your wheels
assume
on that.
that's another big thing. Don't always assume it's hardware that's your problem. If the machine boots up, you're able to get into like a Mac OS. If you put 7.6 on a machine and it doesn't work, it's because that machine is toast. That is like generic. If it's supported, it should just work. But yeah, on the Mac OS stuff, don't always just assume it's bad hardware. Sometimes it's just you don't have the right combination of little things all lining up to make it work.
Yeah, and things like firmware updates and stuff like that, you should be aware of if you're installing OS 10, especially on early machines, because it will just make things look funky and not be happy. And booting off a USB, you'll read a bunch of it in the forums. Yeah, you can probably do it, but it's going to cause you a headache. So if you have a FireWire device or an adapter, that's probably the easiest way to go. There's some recalls on some things, and we're just going to leave this slide here, but just be aware of power supply issues, display and GPU failures, things like weird issues. The first generation of the Power Mac G3, we've all experienced this, where it just corrupts the install every time it feels like it. So you can have a fresh install, oh, I'm great, I'm doing well, you reboot, and all of a sudden, your data's gone. And power supplies and stuff like that. So you just want to be aware of these things when you're picking it up, when you're doing your research about them, to make sure that you're getting what you expect and to be sure that you're setting yourself up for success.
Yeah. And keep in mind that, again, this was kind of what we were talking about in the beginning. This is kind of a transition period for Apple, but it's a transition period for the industry in general. And so a lot of the implementation of some of these things like IDE and stuff like that on these machines were kind of a first best chance, a first best try.
Yeah.
And so there are upgrades and stuff that will kind of ease your pain on trying to make those things work. But yeah, just kind of do the research, look and see, and absolutely make sure that you power on your G5 liquid cooled machine without checking for leaks first.
Ask our friend Ken about that.
That is called good YouTube content.
All right, so here, look at this beautiful beige collection here.
Yeah.
And our friend, Mr. Macintosh here, has one of these workgroup servers, or a similar one, at his table, which is really cool.
Those are pretty machines.
Yeah.
They got lots of lines on them.
There's a lot of lines. And obviously some of the portables, some beautiful machines here. And just looking at the evolution from a lot of these to each other.
Where you went from just like, you know what, we're making everything look like you can get all the scuff marks on it you want, to something where it was just like, we want people to see you're carrying this from across the parking lot.
Yeah. So we have some picks. We have some desktops and some laptops we want to talk about. But start off with your picks.
Oh, well, thank you. That's very kind, especially since we're going from top to bottom.
No, we're going from bottom to top.
Oh, no. The Power Macintosh 7500, it's a great machine. It is processor upgradable. It's got PCI slots. It's got built-in Ethernet. It has, it's at this point in the game, it does use like DIMM memory.
Oh, yes.
Which was like a brand new thing back in the day. But now it's pretty plentiful. You can find 5-volt DIMM memory floating around at these shows. You can find it on eBay.
I found some in the free pile.
Yeah.
16 whole megs.
And back in the day, that was like a tremendous amount of RAM, right? I'd also say the Power Macintosh G3 Blue and White, specifically the second revision. That's the one that kind of addresses the IDE issues in the machine. Plus, it's just pretty.
Oh yeah, they're nice to look at.
Yeah, it's just I don't really go in on a lot of that later stuff, the candy colored kind of things. But of all of those, it's really nice, and it's a great platform for testing out weird cards. You can just kind of get in there, and it's got a nice, robust power supply. There's plenty of room for adding drives. Like
You still have an ADB port.
yeah, it's still got a couple of little legacy things, and so like that's the machine that I run all my PCI based
Yep.
PC cards and stuff in, just because it's just rock solid. And then my favorite machine, the iMac SuperMac C500. If you can get one of these machines, they are great.
That's the one in the middle here.
It is just yes, it's just a little desktop. It's a two PCI slot machine, so it is a little bit of a limitation. It doesn't have integrated Ethernet. You do have to add a card. You really technically have one slot, but so did Bender's son Ben, and he turned out just fine.
He turned out just fine.
Yeah, he just had the one slot. But no, it's a great machine, and they're rock solid, and they're very very fast. Like they.
Yeah, they're 200 megahertz, but they feel very zippy.
Yeah, it has no business feeling this responsive, because I've used like a lot of power computing machines and things like that, and some of the really low end ones feel like a slog.
Yep.
But that iMac SuperMac C500, Ron's pick of the week.
Next up on the countdown.
Yes.
Fun fact about that system: there are 2 floppy drive ports inside.
Mm-hmm.
One is hidden on the riser card right by the video chips.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they both work at the same time, but that's something one of these years I'll get to.
I'm willing to test it on any of your hardware whenever you're ready.
Oh no, we let out the magic smoke.
Yes, right. Actually, and it's that SuperMac is actually part of Apple's clone program, which is the board is it's not like a Tsunami board or some of the ones you'd see like in the Power Mac 4400 or
It's
some of
not a sucky board.
no, it's or any of the Motorola machines, which are just so sad.
I've had 3 of those machines with the correct restore disks for them, and every single time after you finish the install, it starts up and bombs immediately.
Yeah.
So don't tell me
Yeah.
that you had a great experience with them, because I'm sure you did, but I have not.
Yeah, it's like Motorola, and that is another thing on these other machines. Like the Restore CDs do have a lot of shovelware. That was
yeah.
kind of the era where it was like,
You don't
know
want
what?
CyberDog?
Yeah, it's you know what every machine needs? Conflict catcher. And then you're booting, and that's what's causing you to crash. It's like
You didn't buy the full version there, Ron.
nah.
So some of my picks are the G3 Mini Tower. This is the beige one. It's either the tower or the desktop. I like the tower just because it looks cool, but the desktop has pretty much the same functionality there, same I/O and everything like that. These are very good upgradable machines, bridge machines, Ethernet built in. You could run Mac OS 9, Mac OS 8, Mac OS 10. You can add FireWire, USB pretty easily. So if you want a Mac that's basically going to cover all your software from, say, mid, System 8, and onwards, it's a pretty zippy machine, and they're quite plentiful. You could put in a Blue SCSI in there, and even if you have no experience setting these machines up, you can restore pretty quickly. And their power supplies are pretty good, and there even is a little jumper on it. They could actually use a standard ATX power supply. So you just have to make sure you have that jumper in the right spot. Otherwise, you could cause some problems.
Yeah, it gets sad real fast.
Gets sad real quick. I like the Power Mac G4 Graphite AGP one for a lot of the same reasons Ron likes the G3. I grew up with my father having the G4 in the house, so that's just something I prefer. The AGP graphics chipset capability of that just like speeds up a lot of the graphics things that you would do, whether it's games or Photoshop, or just had a lot of zip to it, which I thought was really neat. And one of my favorite.
Plus, your house had running water on a fairly regular basis, so a G4 was no trouble. Name brand cereal at this guy's house.
Delicious. I love my frosted O flakes.
Yeah, it's a King Vitamin for life.
And one of my favorite clones, the Power Computing Power Center. These either came in a tower or a desktop. I personally like the desktop just because it's very compact. And again, there's like 2 or 3 PCI slots in there. But I mean, these systems, you can't really go wrong with them. Obviously, everything's going to have their problems, but if you get a good one, They're keepers.
They're nice. They're big. They're easy to work on.
Yeah.
I will say the 7500 does have like some fragile plastics and stuff. But
They all do.
But the fragilest of the plastics, like the on-off switch and things like that, there are 3D printable copies, and any of the stuff inside, the little kickstands and the card covers and all that type of stuff, you throw that right in the trash. None of it matters.
No, my RF shielding.
Yeah, exactly right.
Save yourself some splinters. Yeah. Some runner-ups there, eMacs and stuff like that. I mean, they're fine. There was one in the free pile earlier, so you never know what you could make into a usable machine.
Yeah, if you've got a strong back, go get an eMac. You'll love it. You won't love moving them anywhere, but you'll love using it.
I love how you could grip that from any angle and it will still slip out of your fingers.
Yeah.
Trying to walk one of those downstairs is fun.
Yeah. Some great PowerPC portables. If you're looking for something that kind of conforms to the old, Garth is over here giving a little bit of side eye. I know. I will say that the Power Mac Duo 2300C, it's kind of one of those neat machines that Apple made that kind of occupies like a strange space because you can use it with the dock, you get access to NuBus stuff, but it also supports IDE. It's the strangest thing, but it's a very zippy machine. It's a very fast machine. If you can get them fixed, get one with a good keyboard. I don't think you'll be displeased. The PowerBook G3 Lombard, that's kind of a nice little bridgey kind of machine. You can do some fun stuff with that. We had some of those at a previous job, and I just remember really those being a joy to play with. And then everybody's favorite, the first generation G3 iBook clamshell in whatever color you choose.
The toilet seat. Yeah.
Yes.
So I loved those stupid iBooks. I got a refurbished key lime green one, which is my ride or die. I love that stupid thing. And it had a FireWire port, it had a DVD-ROM drive, and it had an AV out port. So I had a DVD player in my room. Ooh, it was so cool. Limited to 800 by 600 on the display, but back then you weren't counting pixels.
Yeah.
PowerBook G3 12-inch. I love these little machines. They are rock solid. The runner-up would be the iBook G4s because they're very similar. The PowerBooks will give you a little bit better graphics and a little better I/O here or there, but those are pretty solid machines. And what's nice is when you want to replace the hard drive on one of them, you have to learn how to dismantle the whole damn thing. So
Yeah.
better keep track of those screws. PowerBook G3, I don't think you could really go wrong with most of those models, but I always like the ones with the bronze keyboard. It's like, ooh, shiny. I remember walking into CompUSA once and most of the keys had been ripped off by some kid that was there before me, but still, I dreamed of having a complete keyboard one day.
What was left was nice.
Yeah, what was left was nice. Some of the runner-ups here, I love the G4 titanium, but you're not going to find one with non-destroyed hinges these days. So that's the only reason I wouldn't recommend it, is because you'll be using it one day, you go to close it, and now the display is wireless. So
Yeah. It's nothing duct tape can't fix. The PowerBook 2400, 3400, those are nice machines too. They're small. They kind of represent kind of a step in miniaturization kind of on those machines because a lot of these are really like, if you're flying business class, you're probably okay. But if you're like me and I'm getting that $59 Southwest flight, you're going to have a bad time. But like a 2400, 3400, it will fit on the tray table on a Southwest flight.
you're going to have some weird looks on there. But
You will.
But that's a given.
Yeah.
All right, so some road apples to avoid here.
Yeah.
Like we were dumping on the Motorola's before. If you don't use the Restore CD, you might have a better time.
They know what they did. This ain't on me. This is on them for being terrible. So
We know what you think, Rob.
yeah, I know. Power Macintosh 4400. I love this machine. It's like if you haven't cut your hands on a computer case recently, it's everything you love about like one of those Chinese-made 386 AT cases. Because it's just you're like, I probably had to move this somewhere. Bones.
I also love how the SCSI port is just dangling in the middle of the back of the case because it's a ribbon cable connected directly to the port on the motherboard.
Yeah.
There was no, we should build SCSI into this. I just put it on the board and
Yeah.
run a cable.
Yeah, it's a weird machine because it's kind of part of that tsunami, like where we're just trying everything. Like it's got connections for like a PC style floppy drive on the motherboard and all kinds of weird stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, a few of these, just we have some notes here. The iMac G3s are great. Just make sure that before you buy one, it powers on and the screen doesn't flicker for like 10 minutes because you don't want one with a bad flyback or anything like that. They are not fun to open up and replace or recap the analog board in. You're going to have a very bad first time with an iMac G3.
5300 CS, they have passive matrix, LCDs, and brittle plastics disease. They're just not fun machines. They deserve their reputation. They were kind of very, kind of like, hobbled at that
But
time.
I have one that has an active matrix screen.
Well, I'm sure you're fine then. Again, name brand cereal at that house. So.
iMac G5, if you have one without failing capacitors, go buy a lottery ticket. So that was our ranting and raving about PowerPC computers.
Yes.
If anybody has questions, you're welcome to line up by the microphones and give us your best impression of Michael Spindler. Or John Scully. I mean, I won't judge, but I will, silently.
What's the Gilio? It's like, what, me fired?
I have two questions, if I may.
Yeah.
Only if they're directed at Ron first and then me.
Okay, I can do that.
As Steve's handler, I'm happy to accept all the questions.
First of all, I completely second the recommendation of the UMac C-Series.
Yeah.
Absolutely the most underrated clones ever made. I am curious why you would recommend the C500 desktop over the towers?
Because I own one.
Oh, well.
I will
that's
say
reason
I
enough.
did see a C500 out on the floor at an excellent price, and I would have purchased it, but my mom doesn't give me that much allowance. So,
what
I
booth
do
was
have to
that at?
eventually get home, huh?
What booth was that at?
It's kind of out there in the middle. I'll use dead reckoning. If you want to buy it, if it's still there, I'll help you find it tomorrow.
I might take you up on that.
I love the towers because I have one of the dual processor ones, and I just love how stupid that is. It's amazing.
My second question was, have either of you played with the Apple officially approved jank that is the DOS compatibility cards?
Let me tell you some stuff about that DOS compatibility card. Actually, way back in the day, I had a Quadra 610, and I bought the original Houdini card, which is a 486 SX card with like no sound card, and it's got a kind of like chips and bits like video card. It is the worst, but I loved that thing. And eventually later I got a 6100 and I got the Houdini 2, which is the version that it's got a 4060X266 and it's got like a Vibra sound, everyone's favorite. And you could actually run like Windows 95 on it. And it was a pretty nice machine. Apple later, there was Reply and some other people that were in that space too, Orange Micro, that have their own line of cards that operate a little bit differently. But the PCI, the 7-inch and the 12-inch cards that Apple put out, they're both really, really great. And if you go out to the Macintosh Garden, I actually have some images prepared that is like a DOS, Windows 3.1, or Windows 95, or Windows 98, and they have all the drivers and everything ready to go for both the old Houdini style, or Houdini is what Apple kind of termed them internally, those cards, and then also the later PCI cards. So if you have one of those and you're looking to play around, I have done all the hard work for you.
Saves you about 72 hours of setup.
It does.
So. Yeah, you have some great videos on your channel.
And I've got great videos on my channel about it. But I love those cards because they're so weird, and they absolutely address like a real need, which was I want to spend as much as a PC on a card that's not as good as a PC, but it has to fit inside the other thing in my house so that no one questions the purchase.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
You guys talked about computers being good heaters a lot. What is your favorite Power Macintosh heater?
I mean, my Quad G5 does the trick.
Yeah, that will do it.
It will also make the lights flicker.
Really? That's awesome. And also, the 5300 series laptops. I had one of those when it was new from my dad's work, and within a year, like the case blew apart. Like the hinges both popped out of it, and it was done.
Yeah. That's
So,
lovely.
avoid those with the passion.
Yeah.
Comes with a roll of duct tape.
Yeah. The 5300 laptop, avoid that if you're interested in maintaining your reproductive health. Because there are stories of like exploding batteries and extreme heat and people having burns and things like that. So
Yeah. Stay safe, folks.
Yeah, please.
Before on, you asked if there is a German word for something that you have never experienced.
Yes. Ja.
Es gibt natürlich ein Wort dafür. The word is Sehnsucht. Sehnsucht. It's nichts kompliziert. It's not complicated. So I want to ask you, is there something in the Apple ecosystem that you have not experienced, that you have Sehnsucht dafür?
I think some Pine Sol will get that out, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there's probably a pill for it. I don't. What old machine did you always wanted, you never had access to?
Oh, gosh. Until I got one in Xserve.
Yeah.
Until I got one.
Then my ears
speaking
were
of
like,
space
no.
heaters,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Space Heater runner-up is an Xserve RAID in like 80 machines. But, you're going to have the air conditioning on full blast anyway because you're in an office with unlimited electricity bills. So,
I don't know. I've been really, really fortunate because I'm kind of one of those people that will, if there is a machine that I really, really wanted, that I'm gonna just play that long game and wait and see if I can get it. And so I now have a bunch of machines at my house that were always like dream machines. Or it's really good to have good friends in this hobby because those are the people you can count on. You'd be like, hey, I'm gonna come by or go to the show or something like that. Bring the thing. I just want to play around with it and just kind of satisfy a little bit of that curiosity of whatever it is. Invariably you're disappointed, but because the great truth is like having is never as good a thing as wanting.
I remember on a Mac Addict CD when the G3 came out, there was a little sound bite that you double clicked on and played its sound, and it was named "Do you want a free G3?" And when you double clicked on it, the guy went, "Oh yeah," so like the G3 was like the desktop was like, "Oh, I love these things." So when I got the Mini Tower, that's why it's one of my favorites. Yeah.
Vielen Dank.
Thank you.
I really wanted one of those Motorola machines till I owned one. So.
Well, I must say, we were talking about PowerBook 5300s earlier, and I gotta say, we need to mourn the loss of mine because
Oh no.
Yeah.
I was trying to get it off of the shelf. Well, I was trying to get another laptop off the shelf, and it slid off, and it hit the ground, and the top lid blew apart because they're not actually.
Now
that
you have
well
two
built.
PowerBooks.
Yeah, it's a PowerBook convertible. Actually, if you have 5300 and you need plastics and stuff like that, just reach out to me after the show. And I have a lot of those machines that people have given me, or parts machines and stuff. I may have the part you need, unless the part is like 4 million parts, because it's now PowerBook powder. But if it's something we can help you with, please ask. Yeah.
Maybe. I didn't bring it with me, but my actual question was, so I have an iMac G3. I got it dumped off to me last year for free by a lovely gentleman who attended VCF last
Who
year.
shall remain nameless.
I mean, I can name him if you
No,
want.
no,
to.
no, no.
No,
He's cool.
we're not going
He's
to dox
cool.
anybody here.
Let's leave the
No,
cops out of this
but-
one.
So,
Elwood Blues,
so
1060
we
West
were
Addison.
talking about iMac G3s that have bad flybacks and how you don't want them. So what do you do when you find out that your iMac G3 has a bad flyback?
You get another iMac G3 and you
Yeah.
cross your fingers.
Yeah.
And you end up like I do, where I have every single color in about 20 too many iMac G3s.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
you put
but
them in
the
the back
problem
of the
is-
shelf and you forget about them until you have to change the condenser pipe for your air conditioning unit.
Oh,
and then you
nice.
realize that's where they went.
They're here
Anyways.
somewhere.
They're here somewhere. Yeah.
Shout out 65
It's best,
Scribe.
just
Yes. Shout out to 65 Scribe.
Oh yes, yes, yes,
Sorry,
yes.
I didn't realize you weren't done talking.
No, no,
Oh, no.
I won't
say
shut
that.
up. So it's good that you just.
Yeah, no, it's good. Make
Thank you.
make some great videos about all that stuff.
Damn.
Yes, yes.
It's funny. While I was waiting to ask, it actually got partially addressed. I just
yeah.
noticed there was a distinct lack of Xserve content in
Oh,
the.
So I have an Xserve and an Xserve RAID, and this was given to me by a gentleman who cleared out some stuff, and the company no longer wanted it, and I made the wise decision because this Xserve and the RAID came in its X-Mac case, I think it was called, or Rack Mac or whatever it was. It was this custom case with dampening on it and everything, and I thought, that would look great on top of the refrigerator in my basement. So as I'm regretting my life's choices by going on a stepladder and lifting this thing empty, the case empty, up on top of the refrigerator.
Steve, what type of noises did you make when this was going on?
Well, the noises that would soon follow is the stepladder kicking in a little bit, me falling back, me landing on a few HP laser jets, and then my wife turning to me and saying, "You have too much crap." My back isn't, but the laser jets survived. So every once in a while, I will turn the Xers on and see all the blinky lights and realize, hey, this is great. I love it. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing more fun than seeing all those lights blink and then the meter on the side of your house go wee, you know. But yeah, I turn on every once in a while. It's fun to have them, but I have a little G4 Mac Mini that basically does everything that I needed to do. But I mean, it looks really cool in the YouTube video. So if you're not paying for electricity, go get some.
Yeah. Yeah, but absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for coming and spending your evening with us.
And don't forget, there's that QR code there. All of our past presentations are there. So if you haven't got enough of our quote-unquote humor and our voices, well, you're in for a treat. There's at least 4 to 5 hours of this stuff there. If you have trouble sleeping tonight, I recommend you put one of those on.
Yeah, it's got a real ASMR quality. So.
Eep!
Yeah. But just remember, we are Steve and Ron. If you liked the presentation, if you didn't, we're the stop bits. Have a wonderful night. Thank you.